Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for joining. This is the ANC 1C Planning, Zoning, and Transportation Committee meeting. We're just going to give folks another moment to join before we take stock of our agenda and get started. So thanks for your patience. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thanks for your patience. Just wanted to give folks another moment to join before we kicked off. I see that we now have all of our commissioners here. So welcome to the March meeting of the Planning, Zoning, and Transportation Committee. We have four items on our official agenda at this point. Just going to review them. We'll be talking about some proposed amendments regarding the Reed Cook overlay. This is some zoning restrictions on a neighborhood in the southeastern part of Adams Morgan, the sub-neighborhood of Reed Cook, pertaining to the former CVS and Mint Gym building at 1781 Florida Avenue. We'll then also talk about some proposed resolution on the street art and curb extensions in the Biltmore Triangle Garden. We've got a presentation regarding a renovation at 1848 Calorama, and comments, if any, on the NOI notice regarding the installation of a crosswalk at 2015 Columbia Road Northwest. I just want to check in with my fellow commissioners. Is there anything else that you wanted to discuss tonight, or needs to be added to our agenda based on by vote?
Don't think so.
Nothing to add by vote. I did get a chance to talk to the Councilwoman Nadeau, and it was sort of like an interesting little conversation that I just wanted to mention to you all, but that can go at the end.
Yeah, well, why don't you, since it's fresh on your mind, if you don't mind sharing a little bit about it, and then we'll jump into the agenda.
The Councilwoman had office hours yesterday. I happened to go and talk about some other topics, but she had some recommendations of how to, for me, as like a new commissioner, to learn more about zoning and the zoning practice in the city, and had recommended somebody on the zoning board of like a person to get in touch with. So this is something that's going to be on my to-do list, is to go and talk to that person as a way for me to learn more. But if you all have other resources that have helped you understand zoning in the city better, also very curious to hear them either here or offline.
Great, thanks. And yeah, if you would want to invite that person to come and talk to our committee to educate our neighbors, that would be wonderful as well. Would love to have this space be a resource for everyone. Great. Thank you for going to office hours. And if there are further future office hours, feel free to throw those in the chat. I know that folks can get on council members and those mailing list and find out about those as well. Brienne on Your Block, I think, is the series. Okay, great. So, and thank you, Sean, for putting the agenda in the chat. And I'm going to add a link on the agenda to the resolution regarding Commissioner Diamond, if you want to do that, you can put a link to the resolution that you drafted regarding Biltmore, so that folks can review that, or I can do it if you'd like.
You should probably do it because I didn't practice that technology skill.
No
It might
worries.
be a bit.
I will do that in just a moment. But first, I want to invite if Jeffrey is on, or anyone else regarding the Reed Cook overlay. If you want to raise your hand, and Sean will elevate you to panelists, and then you can share your screen and share with us your vision for 1781 Florida Avenue. Okay, we've got a hand raised. Sean, if you don't mind elevating. Hopefully coming up. Sean, if you're there, do you mind elevating Jeffrey to panelist? Okay. Oh,
Can you hear me?
there you go. We can hear you now.
Here I am.
Hi, good to
I
see
know
you again.
that's record time for me. This would usually take me a couple hours, but
Well, welcome. If you don't mind just giving a brief intro to what you're hoping to do and what you're looking for from us, and feel free to then share your slide deck that you shared with
Okay.
us in advance, and we'll run through it.
Sure. So I'm Jeffrey Schoenberger. I've owned this building at Florida and California Street and U Street for quite some time, beginning really in 2021 or 2020. And has the building before that, before I took possession of it and ownership of it, had sort of a notorious history. It was the Kilimanjaro nightclub, which was sort of a focal point of criminal activity within the neighborhood, and there was a car repair place underneath it. And so we sort of had a vision to kind of transform it into a retail space. So we took some time. We finally got a Mint, who's been a great tenant, to come in and take the upper floor, and we sort of initially tenanted it with probably was not really the neighborhood centric retailers that we had hoped to, and sort of in the context of the way it should have been done. So as you know, the Reed Cook overlay we don't really understand it, and we're at the very edge of it, but it seems to restrict uses that are today commonly found as part of neighborhood amenities. So that would be, a grocery store that would, almost every grocery store has to sell beer and wine, a restaurant that people like to go to, but it has to be of a certain size. Probably in this neighborhood, 2,500 square feet would be a minimum, and just other uses, a veterinary clinic, and those sort of things. So we met with virtually met with planning and zoning, and they were not. I don't think they were. If my memory holds up, they weren't. They had reservations about exempting us completely from Reed Cook based upon the density and some sort of other housing things and height limitations, which we don't really, we're really not asking for that kind of relief. We're just really asking for relief to the uses that we can put in, because right now the space is essentially vacant with CVS. They've got a 7-year lease. They've got 7 years left on the lease, and we believe it's in our interest and in the interest of the neighborhood that we want to activate this, this space in the best possible way to become a neighborhood amenity. And so we're asking for a few text amendments to be implemented through the zoning ordinance, and those are essentially, I can kind of run through them with you, or I could do the deck, whatever you think is the most efficient.
Yeah, go ahead. Please bring up the deck so folks can
Okay.
see the
Can you-
text and what's not allowed currently in Reed Cook.
Right, can you see what I'm looking at?
Not yet.
Okay, how do I do this? Should I just read? I'm probably not in that.
Click share at the bottom and then
Oh,
click on PowerPoint. Whatever is, I think it's a PowerPoint, and then click share again.
okay, okay, here you share. And
It's probably I believe it's a PowerPoint, so make sure you're sharing the right
yeah, you probably don't see pictures of the
location.
dog.
I don't know. You want to see my cat? And then click share again once you've selected PowerPoint.
I'm sorry I'm wasting everyone's time here.
That's all right. And if you can't figure out in a minute, I believe I can open up and share it as well. But I'll just need to open it up and done.
Yeah, I'm having difficulty. If I can impose upon you, if you,
Just give me a moment because you sent me a new version today, right?
yes, I did.
Okay. Okay, I've got the email, and I am downloading it, and then I will open it as well. And I will share. Okay, I've got the file open, and now let me share my screen, and then you can just tell me when to advance.
Okay. Okay, great. That
Okay,
I
you're
have
seeing
I
it.
have to get someone to give me a tutorial on this.
It's all right.
So here's our building. It's a kind of an island on the back end of really probably the lowest part of Adams Morgan, and it's kind of the orientation is Florida Avenue, U Street, a little bit California Street, Mint. You enter from California Street. And go to the next slide. And here we are. This kind of describes the overlay, and it kind of describes the designation as MU4, which used to be the old C2A, which provides for a density of 2.5 maximum. I think you might be able to get more with IZ. And it's the same all around, except we're for some reason lumped into the Reed Cook overlay, which stretches way back north into the neighborhood. We'll go to the next slide. And this is a picture of the building. You may be, I hope you're familiar with it. The CVS sign is gone. And we think the best orientation for this building is probably on U Street. Okay, we can go to the next one. And properties history, again, we redeveloped the site. It was a wreck. And we basically re-tenanted and we never really had the kind of specialty retail that we had in the space really never did well because it really didn't fit the neighborhood. And so we had a clothing store. Well, that was a struggle. We had furniture stores. Those were also struggles. Because really no one is coming to this location or walking by this location as it would be in other areas like Georgetown or 14th Street or other places. So CVS is closed, and the Reed Cook overlay is we find is going to be extremely it's going to have a significant impairment on us in our efforts to redo the re-tenant the building. Go to the next one. I think the dog is barking. And here we go. Once again, the property and the general plan consistent with what we're requesting. Okay, we can go to the next one. And this is sort of what we're asking for, so that we're able to sell, or the our tenants are able to sell beer and wine, sales accessory to the sales as they're permitted. So in other words, if we could get any tenant in the world to go there, I mean, be candid with you, it would be Trader Joe's, but Trader Joe's, for example, would not take that space unless they could sell beer and wine. They just wouldn't, or any other sort of smaller grocery format. So we're just asking that as an accessory use, they're able to sell beer and wine. The next relief we're asking for, and I wasn't sure. This kind of dawned on me today. I was just reading it before the meeting. It restricts like I'm looking at T, a parcel delivery service establishment other than one exclusively dedicated to soundstage or I don't even understand what that really references. But I'm going to guess, given the age of this ordinance, this overlay ordinance, Federal Express didn't even exist. And so it was probably contemplated of sort of an industrial sort of package delivery service where you have, a gazillion trucks running around the streets and all of that. So we thought, if we just want to kind of clarify this so that if, like, for example, a FedEx office, when it takes space in the building, we wouldn't be precluded, or we could offer to them and they wouldn't have to, they could do it by right. And then
I'm the date in there suggests to me that when this was created, there was something already there. They wanted to grandfather in, for lack of a better phrase, so that it could continue to exist. But it is a bit confusing. I don't know what a parcel delivery service that exclusively dedicated to a soundstage or a movie. There must have been something there.
You're probably exactly right. That's probably exactly right. And then we want to be able to have a restaurant, take space, because the restaurants are such a large portion of the tenancy in Adams Morgan. And right now we can't do that. So we're kind of left with, our prepared foods, which is a very unsuccessful format in that location. They just won't make it. It's too small. I don't want to get into the weeds with you unless you want me to, about why it's really difficult for a prepared food place with very limited seating to be successful in that location. And it's principally because same infrastructure has to be built out almost for a restaurant as it would be for the prepared foods, and yet they don't have the leverage to get enough patrons into the place to make their money. And we've gone through several tenants and it hasn't worked out. So we do have a lot of experience at that site. And then the last one, which is veterinary hospital, we want to be able to put like a bond vet or a local vet or somebody, because the vet, there's such a huge demand for veterinary services in that neighborhood, really throughout the city. So we want to be able to, again, tenant the building with neighborhood amenity type of uses. Does anyone have any questions about any of this stuff? We're just, and by the way, we're just asking, I guess for your blessing, to move forward and present this to the ANC, and that's what planning zoning asks us to do.
So planning zoning asked the ANC to provide our support for or our feedback on your proposed amendments so that you could go and they could give great weight to the ANC on in considering your proposed amendments, right?
That's correct.
So you're asking us to support this. Yeah, you talked about not they weren't interested in exempting this parcel from the Reed Cook overlay generally. Do you think that these 4 changes to R, T, U, and X here, does that give you sufficient flexibility?
I think it does, because we're not really looking to increase the density or the height of the building. We really just, I think this ordinance is a little bit outdated. It doesn't really reflect the nature of the neighborhood as it exists today. And we just want to, in terms of, good land use planning and in terms of making a vibrant neighborhood, we think this is a necessary step.
Yeah, that's the big question I have. If we want to have amenities here that serve the neighborhood, and from my perspective, you have much more in common with next door buildings that have restaurants, like El Tamarindo, than you do with areas that are 3 or 4 blocks away that are exclusively residential. And this area is already a commercial corridor for the neighborhood, and I would like it to see that, see it filled with something that neighbors will use and that can stay in business. I did want to note in the comments somebody did say that there's been restaurants before. There was a chocolate shop, and then of course basil pasta. Were those was it red, white, and basil?
Well, that's yes, red, white, and basil, and then they were taken over. But those are almost like sort of prepared food places, and there's a sort of fine line, and we could all nerd out on what the definition is, and it gets kind of wonky. But we wanted to be able to offer this to a well-qualified restaurant operator that can have enough seating, because they were limited in seating for that format, and that's what I think was a big problem for them. And there has to be sort of a critical mass of seating to allow a restaurant to be able to do the sales.
Thank you for clarifying. Commissioners, any other questions?
I have a question. I'm perplexed by some of these regulations because when I think of neighborhood amenities in like grocery stores, so we have Harris Teeter and a Safeway, and I guess a Trader Joe's would be an addition to the neighborhood, although that seems like a lot of grocery stores for Adams Morgan. And personally, I think a bowling alley would be great, but that is prohibited. But the other things look good to me. And there's also a vet on Columbia Road next to the hardware store. So would this be in addition to that?
Well, it would just give us the flexibility.
Okay.
I think ultimately, a tenant would have to decide whether there's a business case to open there. And of course, there's another vet on 18th, the Adams Morgan Animal Hospital,
Right.
which is where Lucy goes. But not endorsing it anyway. But yeah, this is just providing additional flexibility to, and recruit a diversity of tenants. Does that make sense?
Yep. I'm on board with that.
I'll say it does seem funny that this building is right at the intersection of like the 18th Street and the U Street corridors. I don't know. I think I'm with Commissioner Diamond that I would want to see more things on here. Like personally, if we had an arcade, I think that'd be great. So it seems like you're thinking strategically about what things to add on here that are most likely to get approval. I don't know how that process works. I'm sure you've thought about it or you had advice on it, but I wonder if there's a tiering of things that you can offer and say like this is our stretch and then this is sort of the fallback.
Well, Trader Joe's would be that's a stretch. I mean, it's
okay.
And it's just by way of example of the kind of tenant that would be the first rung of tenants that we would love to have in there. I mean, that would be the number one tenant, but
yeah,
we'll see.
It just does seem funny that like attached to that is a whiskey bar, right? Like it's 1 minute walk, and yet here you can't have a bar. You could have another 5-minute walk down U Street. But I take your point of like trying to be strategic.
Right.
Commissioners, would you support this a text amendment, but also I would maybe perhaps note in our letter that we think this parcel is not a good fit for the Reed Cook overlay and should be exempted entirely, but alternatively, we support these more limited changes. And we will open it to the public as well in just a moment.
In general, yes, my only other note is I assume this is also like a weird parcel because it's just between 1C, 1B, and then a different ward. So I don't know if you're thinking to go to those other ones just to cover your bases too.
I hadn't really occurred to me.
Okay. I'm just imagining there are some residences that are in 1B that are like a block away, and I would think it might be something that the zoning board would think about too. So I wonder if that's a way to bolster your case.
Yeah, I don't know. I can look into it and
yeah, I agree with Commissioner Lawson that I think that they're only required to give great weight to us as you are in 1C, but it would help your case nonetheless to get 1B. And I'm not sure which two is right across U Street. But yeah, if you get a chance to talk to those folks as well. And have you had interactions with neighbors of yours to discuss this?
No, I mean, when you say neighbors, what are you thinking about specifically?
Any of the businesses that are around, or any of the neighbors across the street, or any other.
No, we've not reached out to anybody except for this panel.
Okay. Yeah. Any other commissioners have any questions? Okay, anyone in the public? Okay. I just there was a comment in the chat. What about something cultural? I think that and yeah, one C, one B, and two B, right? So one B and two B are the adjacent ANCs. Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, I would support something cultural in the space. I think that there's a lot of opportunities, and this is about providing flexibility to get the right tenant that will succeed in that space. And I'm supportive of this. I will move that we recommend the full commission to support these text changes, as well as a statement that the ANC would alternatively support excluding this parcel from the Reed Cook overlay generally if the zoning commission is amenable to that. So I'll move that. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? On abstentions, okay, that motion passes 4-0, so we will move that to the full commission. Thank you very much,
Thank
Jeffrey.
you very much for your time. And sorry I was so inept with the the, mechanics of this.
No worries.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, have a good evening.
Have a good evening. We'll move on to our second item on tonight's agenda, which is the street art and curb extensions in the Biltmore Triangle Garden. And I'll hand it off to Commissioner Diamond to introduce this.
Okay, so should I share it with hosts and panelists or with everybody?
This is are you
Yeah.
sure? Are you going to share your screen? I would just share.
No, just the resolution.
Share it with everyone so that folks can read it.
Okay, it is shared.
Or, I mean, unless it's in an edit mode, I wouldn't necessarily make it editable by everyone who's on the meeting. If you have a link that is visible, to view it, then share that with everyone.
Yeah, it's a view only.
Great.
All right, so
You can share your screen as well if you don't mind.
all right, I can share my screen, and I was not expecting that I was going to do this, so let me pull the all right, here it is. Okay, share. All right. Can you see the resolution on here?
Yes.
All right. Yes, you can see the resolution. Okay, so
You just maximize it. That'd be great.
maximize. Okay, that's kind of as
That's great.
all right. So basically the situation is there was some street art that was applied to the street, and it happened sort of in November after the election, and it was in 1C03. So the former commissioner didn't do a ton of follow-up, and I sort of didn't get on this until, like 2 weeks ago. And there had been some conversation with stakeholders, with the people that tend the garden, and with people that live on Biltmore Street that were unhappy with the art. And there was a meeting held in November that I was not at, but I found out later about it. So this is a resolution that just goes through some issues with the street art and the curb extensions. And in my conversation with the DDOT person last week, what is there now is temporary. So the resolution just basically says, when the permanent installation happens, that it should be done with input from the stakeholder. So that's the garden, the residents, and that the art should, if there's going to be art there at all, it should not compete with the garden, but it should enhance the garden. And where the stanchions are, that the DDOT needs to look at them so that they make sense with the way the street is.
Great, thank you. Do you happen to have any pictures easily available of the art that's currently there?
I do not. Basically the art is very bright colors. It's like orange, blue, and yellow, and the feeling of the residents is that it's very out of character with the buildings. And even though the historical board approved it, the art, because they said it's not architectural, it really is very jarring in the neighborhood. And there is widespread agreement, I think, that it really detracts from the street rather than enhances the street.
I just talked to my neighbors across the street in 1C01, and when I mentioned this was on the agenda, they said that it is very ugly. So, another opinion.
Yes, yeah, yeah. And then there's some other things in the background with sort of where the stanchions are, that it's not necessarily logical with the crosswalk. Commissioner Swanson Palmer, question.
Thank you. Could you actually scroll up just a little bit? I just saw something in the resolution that I wanted to ask you a question about, but I want to be sure that I have it right about flex posts. I think it's up a little more. Okay, yes. Flex posts are visually distracting and diminish the street's natural design beauty. Sorry if you touched on this already, but I'm wondering if the plan is for the flex posts to go away. And if so, are you all concerned about, the flex posts doing their job if they're not there anymore? And I asked,
Well, according to the DDOT person, the flex posts are temporary. So
Oh.
it's my understanding that a permanent thing would be the concrete like they have on Columbia Road with the bus project, that those would be permanent barrier, permanent adjustments. And so the garden people, and I think some of them are in the meeting, and I hope they will speak to this issue. At the meeting with the artist and the DDOT person, there were some ideas that when there are permanent curb extensions, that they could be painted or done in such a way that they do the job of whatever those stanchions are supposed to do, but are not so visually distracting or ugly, as some might say.
gotcha. Okay, thank you.
And if this is the right time, I think it would be great to hear from some of the residents that may be in attendance at the meeting, because I've had many conversations and I really encouraged people to come and speak at this meeting, because like I said, I walked into this sort of halfway through the process, because it was in the changeover of commissioners.
Yeah, now's a good time. So if there's any folks, I see Alex, raise his hand. Raise her hand. Thank you.
Hey there, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. And if you want, I just walked out to the garden. So if you want me to put my camera on, I can show you what the street art looks like.
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay.
Wow, we get a live view as darkness descends on Adams Morgan.
Yes. You don't need to see me. Turn this around. So it'll be faster than the last person getting their device to work. Yeah, there's the button. Okay, so yeah, here are those flex posts. Here's a lot of paint that's on the ground that certainly doesn't reflect the character of the garden or the neighborhood. And so I do appreciate all the commissioners' interest in this. I'm one of the people that reached out, and so really I'm very much in support of this resolution. And very specifically, if they are going to be removing this temporary safety measure and putting something in permanent, we do want them to take input, particularly from all the volunteer gardeners, as well as all the people that live around here, in addition to all the other the very few other stakeholders that they consulted and didn't really have input before they did this work.
Thank you.
That's all for me. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate what the ANC does.
Great. Are there any other attendees from that area want to comment on this? Just want to make sure we didn't exclude anyone. Okay, Scott.
Just to help me understand, like, are the curb extensions going to go out to where that white line was? Like, there was this big triangle leading up to a stop sign away from the garden? Like, is the garden going to grow to all that space? That'd be nice.
Well, it's unclear, and that my feeling is if they are, if the idea is that there's a road diet and that increases safety for pedestrians, then we should increase the garden space, increase the greenery. And really what the resolution is saying is when there is a permanent redesign, that it should be done in conversation with the neighborhood, and that some plans should be drawn up and we can take a look at them and have a comment period. So there are many things that would be could be done that are visually enhancing that still maintain the road diet, if that is the intention of the stanchions. And that because this may have been done, but it was never communicated to the neighbors. And so the neighbors felt a little bit blindsided, like, wow, there was no input period. And so we have a second chance to have an input period when this becomes permanent.
Can you share the screen with the resolution again? I just have a few amendments to suggest, but I'm in support.
Yeah, and Commissioner, I think you have edit process, so you and I can go through this before we present it to, because I'm assuming we have to present it to the whole ANC.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to do some fine tuning and editing with you of it before it's presented.
I agree, and we can move it forward in this format. But just to sort of be on the record, one, I think up top, I want to make sure that it's clear where this is located. I don't know that I see I see the name of the Biltmore curb extensions. I make sure it's clear what we're talking about. And then the be it resolved that and one thing I would add there is that we would like them to do this quickly. Let's encourage that ANC 1C requests that this be given priority. And and then I don't know that we need, if you can scroll down a little bit. I I I think that the further resolved it seems to be captured in the be it resolved. I wonder if we can merge those in rather than if we can just keep make one list just as a matter
Okay.
of putting everything together. These are really formatting things and
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention those things. So let's work together, and let's also check with the Chairman Wood to make sure that that this matches the format of our other resolutions. I think it's pretty much on. So those are my comments.
All right, I will do some editing of that. And I just used a prior resolution from another committee. So the feedback is
Great.
helpful. And I agree, having the further resolve doesn't really make sense. So I will tighten this up and get it to you before our full meeting.
Okay, great. Yeah. But I'm in support of moving this forward. So Commissioner Diamond, I'll let you move, and then I'll second you.
Okay, I move that we pass this resolution.
Okay, and there is a question in the comments. So I just before we take a quick vote, what's the budget? There's no
I have no idea. I mean, that's
DDOT.
DDOT does this. I don't know what the budget is.
Yeah. I don't know that there is a budget, and we're not spending money as an ANC on this.
Right.
That's not in the proposal. So this is just simply a request that we would like this to be upgraded. And I want to make sure there's no other further public comments. I think I did ask if there were any further comments, but maybe I limited it to the neighbors. Okay, great. I will second that this be moved forward. So all in favor of moving this resolution forward to the full commission? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, passes 4-0. Thank you very much, Commissioner Diamond, for spearheading this. Let's move on to a third item in our agenda, which is the renovation at 1848 Calorem Road. I think, Gregory, I saw you on. So if you raise your hand, or if anyone else is here for that please raise your hand. Okay. Hi, you're muted right now, just FYI.
Good evening. How is everybody?
Good, how are you doing? Thank you for your patience.
Good. I'm sorry. I'm on two computers because my video on the other computer isn't working, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do this exactly now that I know it's raising hands, and I'm talking on one and showing something on the other. Is that going to work?
You can raise your hand on the other computer as well.
Okay.
And then you'll just be on the panel twice, and then you can share from the other screen. That should be fine.
Perfect. All right. You see me here and hear me?
Yes.
All right. I also want to say my better half, Lars Etzkorn, is also on the call. I don't know if he wants to raise his hand as well, but I can speak for both of us. First of all, I just want to thank you all for your time. Daniel, I know you put us on this agenda fairly recently, so we appreciate that. Lars and I have been members of this ANC or the Adams Morgan ANC for probably almost 30 years. So we love the neighborhood and we appreciate all everything you guys do. So thanks, first of all, for all that. We are working on a project in our home. We're seeking some level of relief for an addition on the back of the house. We have two additions. We've determined through working with and talking initially with Ann Brockett at HPRB and Joel Lawson at OP and Alyssa Vitale at BZA, that probably the second edition, which is going to catapult us into the category of a variance, is not where we want to go at the moment, that it's going to take too long. And the potential that we wouldn't get approved will take us, would not allow us to actually do the smaller addition on the back of the house. So what I want to show you today is that some of the drawings show both, but we're asking for your support, and we're going to be presenting to BZA the smaller project here. So that being said, how do I share my screen? I go here.
Great.
All right.
One moment, we almost see it. There it is.
All right. So just for purposes of showing you where we are on Kalorama Road, 1848, halfway down the block, sort of between 18th Street and Columbia Road. We've lived in the house for about 20 years. We love being here. This is the front porch. I'm showing you the front porch because we're using it a little bit as a precedent for the addition on the back of the house. Whoops. Let me see here. That'll be easier. We have gone through, as I said, in talking initially with folks at BZA and planning, we understand the issues that we're going to have to deal with in terms of lot coverage on the property. We did some analysis, and I'm just showing you this quickly. Our property is here, the one that's a little more in yellow. And as you can see, our lot coverage is at just about 62% right now. In our zoning district of RA2, the lot coverage maximum is 60%. We're already over that. So in taking down the back deck and putting up the addition, we're increasing this slightly to about 63%. If we were to do the full garage with the covered terrace on the back, we'd be in the like 74, 75% range. We've decided that we don't want to go to that level of ask here. We'd like to just increase the size slightly of the parking pad in the back and do the kitchen addition on the back of the house. This is a photograph out the kitchen window currently. So you can see the existing deck here with the fence that is right in front of the parking off of the alley. So the addition will go out not quite as far as this, the proposed addition, I should say, will go out about as far as the railing here, and not quite as wide as the railing. And then this is a series of photographs that show sort of the conditions in the back alley. For all of you who know Adams Morgan, the Goodwill Baptist Church is over here on the left, and then we're moving toward the east toward Columbia Road, toward 18th Street. And you can see a series of garages with many with covered terraces. This is our property here with the parking pad. And then at the end, you can see what we were originally proposing, which was a garage with a covered terrace on the top, not significantly different than what some of our neighbors have done. But at the moment, what we're asking for relief for is just the first floor of the garage. So it would be mostly just like this concrete wall that you see here. Hopefully looks a little better than that, but not the covered terrace on the back. And then I will take you to a set of drawings that we have. We're preparing a set of permit drawings. So here's a site plan, and please stop me if you have any questions here. In the site plan, you can see, again, that's the front porch on Kalorama Road with the stairs coming up. The covered interior portion of the first floor is here. This indicates the amount of the addition off the back of the house. It's about 125 square feet with a reworked backyard, and then the increased size of the parking pad in the back of the house. And this is the alley back here. This is a demolition plan. The existing back of the house is here. We've been removing the deck with the stair and the current fence, and reworking the parking pad in the back of the house. This is a plan of the sort of the garage level of the property, since the property does slope down in the back. The addition here, this is the foundation of the addition here with the garage walls. And what we would like to do right now is build those garage walls, sort of increasing the size of the parking pad, but not put a roof on top of the parking pad. This is the first floor of the house. So you can see the addition here coming off the kitchen. Again, it's about 125 square feet, largely windows and a couple doors to the new grass area. And then here again, and I apologize because we didn't update these drawings when we sent them to you last week, but we're not going to be covering the garage here. So there'd be a fence at the back of the yard like there is today, with an uncovered parking area. This is a section through the property. So the existing back wall of the house is here. This is the one-story addition off the kitchen. And again, we would be just building the ground level of the garage here, and not this addition on the back, on top of the garage. We'd also be rebuilding new fences along both sides of the property. They're basically at about exactly the same height as the existing fences there. And then this is sort of a before and after, showing you the deck as it currently exists with the fence going to the parking pad. This is the new kitchen addition, one-story addition on the back with a one-story garage off of the alley. And then finally, this is sort of a before and after, looking at the back of the house as it currently exists. You can see the windows into the kitchen as they exist, and the addition off of the kitchen here. And then a view taken from the alley itself, looking at the parking pad with the the fence. And we would be building sort of the first floor here of the garage on the alley with the addition in the background. So that is basically the proposal.
Thank you very much for such a detailed presentation. Have you engaged with neighbors about this, and do you have their support?
We have begun. We are actually doing a group showing of this in the next week with more of the neighbors. We've talked to the folks on the, I guess, the east side, Said, but we're trying to engage with more of them as we speak.
Okay. Yeah. I don't have any concerns with this. You said the FAR or the sorry the occupancy ratio is like what, 63%?
Yeah, the lot coverage
Lot
is
coverage.
around 63%.
Okay, and that doesn't require any variance from the zoning, but the kind of relief that you can get by going through us. Is that right?
It requires a specialist exception by BZA, which is a lower threshold for sure, is based on what I understand from BZA and from Ann Brockett, versus once you reach 70%, it requires a variance.
That was my understanding as well. Thank you very much. I don't have any concerns or questions. Any other commissioners?
I think it's kind of silly you have to ask us for this. It seems really reasonable and in character with your neighbors, so I have no concerns.
Wonderful. Well, we'll definitely be reaching out to the other neighbors in the near future.
And when we do bring this to the full commission, and I do agree with Commissioner Lesson that I wish you didn't have to, but you know, if you I don't think you'll need to be on, but if you are on, I'm sure that folks might be encouraged to know that you've engaged with neighbors, or if you just want to confirm that to me beforehand, I can report that to the full commission. Any other commissioners? Any members of the public have any comments, questions? Okay, then, Lars, did you have thank you. Okay, I'll move to, that we support this project.
Thank you.
And it to the full commission. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Nays, any abstentions? Okay, it passes 4-0. Thank you very much, Gregory,
You
Lars.
bet. Take
Yeah.
care.
We'll let you know where the full commission lands in a few weeks. Okay, last but not least on the agenda for tonight is a proposed, there's an NOI issued by DDOT for a new crosswalk at 2015 Columbia Road Northwest. And I'll just give a little backstory that the crosswalk that goes to the little island at the corner of Columbia and California was removed during the bus priority project redesign, and then was not replaced initially, and folks were very concerned about the safety of pedestrians, especially as drivers sometimes come up over that hill past the Hilton Hotel around the curve there at high speeds, and wanted to make sure there was visibility. There was a meeting on the block with Councilmember Nadeau and DDOT, and they analyzed the traffic patterns and the visibility and safety, and this is what they came up with. And I just wanted to make sure that there was time for the public to share any comments with us. I don't personally have any resolution on the agenda in support or opposed to it. We're not required to, but just as a matter of course for an NOI in the neighborhood, wanted to give folks an opportunity to comment on it. And then so that we can hit the deadline for comments from DDOT, which is in early April. So is there anyone here who has comments on that? feel free to raise your hands. Okay. As there are no comments, I'm not proposing a resolution here. So unless other commissioners have any questions, comments on that, then I will say that we have achieved that agenda item. Any commissioners have anything else you want to add or say before we conclude the PZT meeting tonight? Great. Well, thank you all for being here. Thank you to the public for being here.
Daniel, there's one hand up.
Oh, okay, great. I don't see the hands, so please feel free. Marina, you wanted to speak. Go ahead.
Hello. I'm concerned about the bus shelters that still exist on Columbia Road that don't have a sign that says that they're not operable anymore. I just got back into town after being away several weeks. That still hasn't been resolved. I've been gone almost a month. And I saw 3 people sitting at one bus shelter that is inoperable at Mintwood and Columbia. And I let them know because they were standing there. So I don't understand why DDOT hasn't put up signage to say this bus stop is closed and here's a map to the closest bus stop or something just to resolve that, because it seems like they're not finishing things up as the way they should for this project.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's concerning if folks are sitting at bus shelters where buses won't stop. Let me send a note to Kevin Harrison. He's our DDOT contact for the bus priority project. Confirmed to us recently that he is still the person to reach out to for comments on the conclusion of this project and evaluation and everything else. So let me send a note to him. If you can send me a note, Marina, I'm 1CO1@anc.dc.gov.
Okay.
And I'll make sure to copy you on my note to Kevin so that we can get him to respond with a timeline for addressing that, because that is, I agree, it's really doesn't inspire confidence in the project if folks are still going to bus shelters that are no longer operable.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. Okay, well, this concludes the March meeting of the PZT committee. Thank you for being here. And we'll see you next month on April 16th. So I'll see you next month. Thank you very much.